City of Stevens Point Board of Park Commissioners meeting, recorded January 2, 2020.
Okay, the eagerly awaited start of the Park Board meeting is upon us. Please call the roll.
Freckman?
Here.
Gladowski's excused. Hall?
Here.
Kirsch?
Here.
McDonald?
Here.
O'Connor?
Here.
Shabilsky?
Here.
Short?
Here.
Sawinski's not here. Sorensen?
Here.
Zarazua?
Here.
Okay, very good. Item number 2, approval of the minutes of the 4th of December, 2019.
I move approval.
Okay.
I second.
Second. Any discussion, corrections, comments, or whatever? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Okay, item number 3, the management, integrated management of the geese problem in Stevens Point, and this, of course, something we've had a lot of input and a lot of discussion the last couple of months.
So what you'll see in your packets is the memo that ultimately kind of goes over the things that we've discussed here the last couple of months. The memo talks about specifically some of the presentation that happened with the USDA last month, and outlines a budget moving forward with a recommendation here from staff, also from the Deer Management Committee, to start with an integrated management approach beginning in 2020. The only one that's listed in the memo that would not be included within that integrated management approach would be the shooting, because it's in the city. The other tactics would be part of that integrated management approach.
So we're not being very specific. We're just saying we're going to move ahead, and I think it was very evident the discussion the last couple of months. There's no guarantee or even likelihood that any one single thing is going to work. So I take it we're going to try a variety of things.
Correct. So how it's kind of set up based on the recommendation from Dr. Scott Hickstrom with the wildlife biologist from UWSP would be that based on the resident population and some of the techniques that we have at our disposal to use, including the habitat modifications, some fencing, some of the frightening devices we've used, as well as potentially a Roundup. Those tactics would be used in combination to try to address the problem. This first year, it's likely that a Roundup could be used or could be utilized. After that, it would be evaluated by the group of professionals, city staff, the Deer Wildlife Committee, to go over what would be used on a yearly basis. The Park Commission could obviously ask for updates and also come back in the future, but this would be, rather than coming back in the memo that Dr. Scott Hickstrom provided to, there is no silver bullet, as we got from that presentation. So to come back and say, now we're going to try this or now we're going to try that, this seems to be a better approach to try to kind of mold them all together.
Liz.
Are you looking for a motion to approve the continuation or the initiation and continuation of this
Correct.
plan?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to do that, and also to request that we have regular updates to the park board.
Absolutely.
I'll second.
Okay. Now, discussion.
I'm just wondering if there was, Dan, if you had a communications plan for the public, because that was one thing that I think is important, is that, before people see, Roundup happening or hear about it right before it happens or something, or maybe even after or something, that they know the kind of the content of that letter, the email, like what we've tried, what the problems are. Like a lot of people just don't understand what the risks associated with the geese population are, sure. or what we've tried in the past, or the integrated method,
Absolutely. So even the USDA, for example, if they're contracted, which is probably the route we could go, they've done this in a multitude of locations before. So there's certain information that is released to the public, and then there's certain things that aren't necessarily because of the timing. So we would follow along with that model they've built, as well as obviously these things are all public knowledge too and put out. And then results, as we go through them and review them, would be things that people would see as well. Mm-hmm. And if there is something specific that we need to notify the public of, we'll definitely do that. Mm-hmm. But again, we're going to rely heavily on some of the things that the USDA tells us, the DNR, that kind of been through this process before.
Awesome.
Okay.
I guess for me, one thing
that, and I talked with Director Kramer about this today, just that there is like a human component to the problem, that people feed the ducks and then are automatically also feeding geese, and that's attracting them to stay here. And so then we've already like interfered with the environment and with wildlife, and then now we have to intervene again to solve the problem. And I understand that it's at a point where we just have to address it, but I also think like if we have to find a way to engage the public and find a way to address the problem of feeding the ducks. I mean, I know we have signs up, but I know it's not technically illegal to feed them, and it's a family-friendly activity. There's a lot of information out there about like don't feed them bread and feed them other things, but even if you're feeding the ducks other things, it's still going to attract the geese. So I don't know a solution to that, but I think that needs to be a part of the plan.
Other communities are having ordinances which we're not. But I believe Wisconsin Rapids has an ordinance now, and they've gone through this whole thing that we have, and so has Madison, so, I mean, I guess it depends.
What does their ordinance prohibit?
Prohibiting feeding. I mean, where you're actually breaking the law, right.
Any waterfowl or?
I'm not sure how it's worded, but Wisconsin Rapids has had this problem for many years. And I mean, we followed with putting the signs up and social media and everything, but it only goes so far.
Okay.
When it comes time to implement some of these programs, I'm wondering if we couldn't get some volunteers or some wildlife students from the university to go down with some kind of an official-looking shirt on and notifying people or letting people know that are down there feeding. I've mentioned it to a few people when I've walked through the park, but you really hesitate because, as you were saying, it's a family-friendly thing, and a lot of times it's children with adults that are down there feeding, and I really think we're going to have to do something on a more personal basis to let people know about it.
I like it.
Well, I think at this point, I think we're aware that we're not dealing with any specific procedure, that we're going to try and see where it goes from there. So I think with that in mind, we probably are ready then for a vote. So do we have the wording of the motion?
Yep, the motion was to move forward with integrated goose management practices with regular updates to the Park Commission.
Okay. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, looks unanimous. All right, then. The next item is the reroute of the Green Circle Trail within Bukolt Park in anticipation of the acquisition opportunity to move on to the Raycheck property.
So I did put, it's in your packet, but I tried to load it here on the screen for you in case you'd like to see it. I can share that the property on the northeast corner that was acquired by the North Central Conservancy Trust on the 20th, at this point, what's before you in the packet is not, I'm not asking the commission to talk or vote on that portion of the Green Circle possible reroute, because the city really is not affiliated with it at this point. They own the property, and they are in conversations and talks about trying to put the Green Circle Trail through it. So the reason that this is on the agenda tonight is to discuss the portion that runs actually through Bukolt Park and would line up with the trail if it were to go through that property, which it looks like it very likely will. So what the commission or the Green Circle Trail Committee has looked at and talked about at this point, we walked this site with a few members of the committee, was that currently it goes on the road, as you know. So this is a real high trafficked area where the road diets down to a single lane, and given times when there's boat traffic and there's people coming through the park, it's a real congested space. So a couple members of the committee thought if we use the asphalt trail that already runs along going towards the field and potentially put a crossing right here, you'd be further away in a more highly visible space. And then the trail could route up alongside the edge of, there's a fence here for the parking lot that serves the Public Works garage, and it could cut across the corner. What you see here is that it actually goes across part of the asphalt. There is a drain in this corner that is serviced and used by the Public Works Department, and we don't want to take that away. They wash out some of their vehicles in this corner. So we have talked with the Public Works. If this was an option and it happened to go that route, they were okay with the fence being moved in, and then that would be an asphalt surface, so it wouldn't interfere with what they're doing. The reason you see two more lines here is based on cost or based on the things that are actually seen in the field, and to make sure that we would be saving trees if we had tree conflicts. We wanted to have two other options to review when it actually gets, the snow is gone and we start walking the area. So I'm going to call it the easiest or the quickest route would be just to do a direct crossover if we were to reroute the trail and run it on the inside of the skate park up along the edge of the gravel parking lot and then cut in heading towards the bathrooms on the north side. That is an option. The reason you don't see an option on the southeast corner of the skate park is because there is potential for a future skate park expansion. So that's incorporated in this as well. You'll see a black line then that runs on the south side of the tree line that was also put in based on if it didn't work to go up along the fence line, this would be kind of a worst case scenario that could potentially be utilized as well. From that location, and I'll touch on that in just a second, you'll see then what we're looking at doing. The green circle, we want to be green. That's the idea, obviously, to stay off the roadways in as many cases as possible, is trying to route the trail through the wooded area that we currently own, and there is quite a few fallen trees and things back in this area, and then tying it up into the corner where it looks like it potentially could go across this northern portion of the property. How this is being set up or talked about at this point is if the Park Commission is agreeable to looking at doing a reroute, the Green Circle Trail Committee does meet next week, and they would fund this trail. So it's kind of the partnership model they've worked at. The city would help to prepare the grounds to get it ready for it. And that's kind of similarly how the model worked for the trails in the past.
This is a granite surface?
A granite surface, it would be that same granite material that's kind of signature of the Green Circle Trail and other locations.
I guess, Dan, like the second route, the black line,
Yes.
is there any potential conflict with boat trailer traffic if they have to go that route for some reason? And have you talked about how that might be discussed or handled?
Yeah, so what we did talk about is that it absolutely could not go any further down because of that reason, because this whole area gets parked up heavily. So really what this was an option that one of the members liked because it kept it away from staring at the garage. So that was why it was discussed. I think this is the least likely option, but I wanted to put it on there because it was brought up.
Sure.
So yeah, we to your point, this whole area when it's busy is very heavily parked up. So so really, I would almost call this kind of like an option A, an option B, and then really a third worst case scenario option C is really how it's presented. So the timing of this, because of the winter projects for especially for some tree trimming and getting into places when it's frozen over, not really right now, but hopefully later in the winter. The park staff would look at doing some of this work if it was approved this evening between now and really that springtime when they start to do things for the groundwork to get ready for the gravel. So the process, what I'm asking the Park Commission for is to approve the reroute of the Green Circle Trail to prepare for the trail going through this new portion of property. None of this work would happen until we knew the trail was going to go there. So we wouldn't prepare this path until we knew that they had worked it out for the NCCT property. But again, the sequencing, this is going to probably happen fairly quick with approvals. The NCCT will be working through their process with the Green Circle Trail Committee. Obviously, I'm meeting with the Green Circle Trail Committee as well. And then the final route will be approved as we walk through it and set it up in place. The idea is to try to route this not straight. Again, we want it to be green, so we should be able to go around any conflicts to save any mature trees. The route, the aerial doesn't do a great job, but the restroom building is up in here as well. We thought this would also put it close to another restroom. Obviously, it does go by the boat launch restroom, but this would be very near the other one in the tree line too. So what I'm looking for, what I'm asking the Park Commission this evening would be to approve the routes as depicted and allow city staff to work with the Green Circle Trail Committee to pick the final route on the southern portion and still account for the expansion of the skate park, the public works needs for that clean out area, and to try to make that crossing as safe as possible. And then to route up, to meet up with whatever the NCCT ultimately elects and decides to run through their portion of their property.
Okay.
I guess, Dan, one more question. What is the distance, it's hard to tell from that aerial picture, but how far away from the actual shelter would that trail be? And the only reason I ask is there's grills back there, there's picnic areas, and don't want to get in, I guess my concern would be that we get into some participant bike issues with that trail. So
Sure.
how far is that, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, so I'd have to measure it on the GIS tool to tell you exactly, but I can tell you right now, the grills and things are actually in this space. This is up along, really, I'd call it really like an undeveloped area. There's nothing in there, but right now, actually, if you walk through, I think there used to be some bike trails that people kind of made themselves, essentially. So there is no grills or benches or anything in this portion where we're going through.
Okay.
Is the restroom, this would be on the east side of the restroom?
It would be on the, yeah, right behind the east side of the restroom.
Cool.
Okay, so,
What is the cost for the land preparation?
So the cost in terms of, for the gravel has not been figured out yet. So ultimately, they have not brought a contractor in to lay this out. They've not got to that point yet. So that was one of the things that factored in is this, they're pretty close and similar runs, and they're comparing it to the trailways they've done it in the past. I think they were budgeting, they figured anticipated around 10,000 for this whole portion, which will probably be less, but that was what they were gonna put in their budget for it. We would have some staff time with the removals of the trees and, or the, basically it'd be trimming and then removals of any dead trees that would be laying there too.
So what is the additional distance for the $10,000?
In terms of lineal footage?
Yes.
I don't have it because we, again, it's not mapped out officially. This is really just an aerial image of what it is.
okay, we could use a motion. Somebody want to move approval of?
I'll move to allow staff to reroute the Green Circle Trail through Bukolt Park based on the final, I guess, recommendation from the Green Circle Committee.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I just have one comment.
Yes, please.
Just one comment, and I already had talked with Dan about this, but I think as a park board, we're definitely concerned about any unnecessary removal of trees and that kind of thing, trying to keep it as natural as possible in routing it through there, so. And Dan assured me that that would be part of the plan. And also protecting the skate park, potential expansion.
And I assume that this would be about the same amount of pedestrian and bike usage and so on as on the other parts of the Green Circle Trail, so we're all familiar with that.
Yep, correct. And as you know, because of the view of the river, we'll probably still have people that will go around this route. That'll probably go down the road. We know that. And that was one of the other thoughts of adding this leg, if it does go towards the field, is you do gain a little small amount of mileage here. They're always trying to add to the distance when they can too. But yeah, you'll have traffic going both routes.
Okay, well, I think we're ready for a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. And item number 5, a contract for the rental management of 2 places along Water Street with Candlewood Property Management.
So this building, the 2 addresses that are listed in your packet are from the Scarebocchio Museum. So that building is owned and maintained by the Parks Department. And part of the agreement of how the city came to acquire that building was that we are required for 30 years at minimum to keep the art space open to the public. So how the arrangements or the lease agreements are set up is the Central Wisconsin Symphony Orchestra opens and runs the art area, the gallery area of that building. We in turn charge a very low rental fee because we don't have to staff the building to be open. And that arrangement has worked out very, very well. That's not included as part of this rental contract because we've had really good success with it. They actually pay a year right up front. We take care of that lease agreement. Within the building, though, we do have 2 rental spaces. So essentially, it's the Pilates studio at 1217, and there's a CMM trucking in 1225, which is upstairs. Those, again, are commercial leases. They're businesses that run out of it. And right now, we collect the rent. We do all the maintenance agreements. But similarly to action you guys took a couple months ago for our rental houses, all other rental properties in the city are maintained or managed through Candlewood Properties. This is a model we've worked with. It's worked well for us. They evaluate the rental rates. They go through the legal parameters of it. So looking at the way we've maintained these buildings, we want to continue that. We do want to keep it open to the public, which is one of the reasons why we like to stay involved with the front portion of it. We still would be involved with the other as the city. We own it. The contract would be with us, I'd still be involved with it, but rent collections and things would follow the same process as our other locations. So staff recommendation is to move forward for both of those properties. Right now, in case you were curious, we charge $500 for rent for one of them, $350 for the other. So at its current model, it'd be about $59 a month would be what this would require. However, they would again evaluate the rent. We have not raised any rent since we acquired the building, so they'd be able to look at what the commercial rates are and things over time. We are not proposing to raise the rent right away. We want to keep, we've had good tenants, we want to treat them fairly. However, it's something that should be evaluated as we go forward.
Okay.
Dan, I just wondered, who does the snow removal down there now?
We do the snow removal,
Oh,
and we would
okay.
continue that because they do, you'll see that the snow removal is listed on there in lawn care.
Right.
We would continue with that rather than paying that hourly rate. And the maintenance side of things, the big things we would be involved with, the routine maintenance things, if it's something that's quick, similar to our rental properties, they would be involved with.
And I am assuming that the current tenants take care of whatever cleaning is necessary. Does the cleaning fee just refer to like if the premises is vacated and someone else is coming in? or-
Yep, when you turn it over.
Okay.
And we would actually, there's a common restroom in this building we maintain, so that we put all the supplies in it essentially. We would continue that arrangement because it does serve all three facilities.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to enter into the rental agreement. Somebody want to move?
I so move.
Okay.
Go ahead.
John?
I'll second.
Okay, Liz, or whichever way. Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. And item number 6, a director's report.
So the Willett Arena and the Gerke Stadium, I just want to mention Spash Hockey has began, so we started hosting those home games when they're on the schedule. Open skate sessions were added during the winter break period. We've tried to look for areas that we had open, and they were popular, as you can imagine, with kids being off. The winter session of Learn to Skate will begin in January. On the park side of things, we had some really nice winter weather, so we were able to open up the winter sports area and the ice rinks. However, it deteriorated quickly here about a week ago, so we did close them for a little bit. We do anticipate tomorrow making an announcement saying that the sledding hills will be open, the toboggan runs likely won't be, and then as soon as the cold sets in, we'll have the ice rinks back open. So we were able to lay a base. The downtown rink has been very popular, and because of the liner and being on concrete, that actually has held up better than the other ones with the warm temperatures. So that technically right now is open. We kept that in our releases. So it took a little extra work, but actually overall, we've had really good success with that downtown rink. It's held up pretty well. And we haven't had too many issues. Really, we've received no calls. I can't speak for the PD or anything of that nature, but it's been really positive. A lot of photo opportunities around the Christmas tree over the holiday season. We've been working with Public Works to release bid documents for the Piffner Irrigation Project. We hope to have that out in January. That project's been lingering here for some time. You remember we approved that reallocation of some funds in the capital budget, so we anticipate trying to do that in May, actually, if we can, before the busy summer season. On the forestry side, they've been doing some indoor work, ordering playground parts for some replacements in the spring. They've also been setting up the flower bed arrangements for 2020 that they work for. They plan those out now so they can order all the supplies for it. They're working on doing some of the pruning and trimming of street trees, especially for areas with the plow trucks that go around as they see things or see issues for clearance. Those lists come across, and Todd and the crew do a good job trying to respond to those. They have submitted the Tree City USA application. If it's awarded, which we hope and anticipate that it will be, it would be 39 years, which is great. And then Todd has his tree contracts out for next year, which we'll be getting those bids back here shortly. And then we'll reevaluate the contracts that we have for removals and trimming and things that we do on a contractual basis. On the administrative side, the card you guys signed that came across, if anybody didn't get a chance, you can definitely sign it. Betty's last day is actually tomorrow. She's been with the city for 44 years. So there is a cake social if you're interested from 12 to 1. You can stop in and have a piece of cake, wish her well. And Hyla began her duties with us on Monday, so they were able to overlap for a week here, which has been great, helping with some of the training. And then we do have a park technician position open, and those interviews begin next week. So we anticipate one more new face in our staff here in early February. That's all I have.
Okay. Any further business? Doesn't look like it, so a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I so move.
Second. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's it.
video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.